Now, experts predict it'll take Houston in Texas years to recover from Hurricane Harvey. Neighborhoods are flooded, businesses, homes and roads are gone. Estimates of what the recovery will cost range from $40 billion to $190 billion. That $190 billion figure represents about 1% of US GDP and around 12% of the pre-storm economy of Texas. Such costs would dwarf the previous storm repair bills. Hurricane Andrew, which hit Florida in 1992, did $25 billion in damage. Today, the same repairs would cost $48 billion. Hurricane Katrina, which hit New Orleans in 2005, caused $118 billion in damage, or in today's money, that's around $160 billion. Harvey swamped and destroyed an estimated 500,000 cars, 100,000 homes are damaged, and more than 1 million people displaced. Now, the U.S. government is planning to allocate nearly $8 billion to help Texas recover from the storm. But first, Congress has got to pass that amount of money. And with an October 3rd deadline approaching to raise the limit on how much debt the government can hold, it's shaping up to be quite a tense few weeks for people both in Texas and in Washington, D.C. So let's go to the U.S. Capitol now and speak to TRT World's Tetiana Anderson. Tetiana, great to have you with us on Money Talks. Tell us, there have been some developments from where you are. What is the latest on the relief package?
Well, there certainly have been some developments. The U.S. House has agreed to approve this initial aid package of about $8 billion. It's going to relief and rebuilding. The largest chunk of that money is going to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. The rest of it going to the Small Business Administration. That legislation expected to work its way through the system and end up at the White House by the end of the week here. And when it comes to FEMA, that agency also runs the National Insurance Flood Program. It's something that's been around since 1968. Congress came up with this idea back then to really protect people who lived in flood zones. That was the whole idea of this program. But, you know, right around that time is when Hurricane Betsy hit. And that was about the same time that policy wonks decided that they didn't want to spend money building levees. They wanted to spend money really to protect people who lived in flood zones. The whole idea of this was that when new housing construction came about, these houses would be built outside of the floodplain so that the federal government over time would no longer have to pay this type of flood insurance because, of course, people would move out of the way. But, of course, Hurricane Katrina hit, and that really changed everything. That put this flood insurance program in deep debt. We're talking about $25 billion in debt before Hurricane Harvey. So you've got to think about this. Hurricane Harvey losses are being estimated at about $200 billion. So it really makes you wonder whether or not what the federal government is doing right now with this latest aid package is really going to be enough.
Yeah, indeed. And meanwhile, the federal debt ceiling deadline is fast approaching. What are you hearing about how the negotiations to raise that ceiling are going?
Yeah, it is approaching. It's been a bit of a fight, of course, pitting Democrats against Republicans. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin saying that the debt ceiling needed to be raised by the end of the month, or we're facing a sort of national default here. So for a while, it sort of looked like it would be a real problem to raise the debt ceiling, but it seems like Harvey might have changed things. Democrats coming out saying that they would go for a short-term hike of the debt ceiling. We're talking about 3 months, not too long, if it was tied to a Harvey aid package. That's where it stands right now. But of course, that aid package has to work its way through the system. The Speaker of the House, who is Republican, came out and said that this short-term limit really is ridiculous. When it comes to the debt ceiling, it needs to be raised for a much longer period than that. This is, of course, something that President Donald Trump was asked about. He said he was asked whether or not he would go for a debt ceiling hike if it was tied to Harvey recovery money. And he said, we'll see. So, you know, we will have to see. It'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out at the end of the week.
Indeed. Tetiana Anderson in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much.